Greetings and welcome to Credit Nerdery with Genius. Credit Nerdery program presented to you by Chironic Financial. Today, we want to have a discussion concerning art inquiries. There's a lot of information that is being given on the internet, but there is a particular truth that I hear none of the credit gurus that are online, past or present, that is telling us about art inquiry. And I can't believe that no one is speaking on this. We're going to talk about inquiry today. First thing we want to discuss, what are inquiries? So under the FCRA, there are particular concepts and ideas and particular legislative intent that are built into the FCRA. FCRA stands for the Fair Credit Reporting Act. And one of the particular interests of the FCRA when it was constructed in the 1970s is to stem the tide of the abuse that the consumer reporting agencies were perpetuating against consumers. And most of us take for granted today, but just to give you some information on the backstory, prior to the 1970s and beyond, especially when credit reporting was concentrated more so in the business sphere, because that's where the credit records started to be collected in the business sphere on individual that was doing commerce. But we'll talk about that another time. It was the case where, as a consumer, you did not have access to your file. And it was only the merchants and traders who are doing business with the consumer reporting agencies or credit bureau, as it were, that had access to your file. And who accessed your file you did not know, and what was in your file you could not know. So the CRAs, consumer reporting agencies, wield a level of power that was beyond what the average person could manage. So the FCRA was created in order to protect the interests of the consumer and to hold the consumer reporting agencies accountable. But over time, there are different additions as the need arises from the research of consumers and activist groups and different groups within the consumer sphere of things to deal with the abuse of the consumer reporting agencies. And different laws were passed at different times. In 96, we had a major amendment to the credit repair, the FCRA, and we have different amendments that were added at different times that gives access to our consumer report and our credit file, and also certain things in respect to identity theft. And then we have another amendment in the 2000s. But how does this relate, that information relate to inquiries? Because we're here to discuss inquiries. One of the major intent of the FCRA is to protect our right to privacy, which is one of the most powerful rights you have when it comes on to dealing with credit repair. As a result, what the function of an art inquiry is, it does two things. It allows creditors to see the state that you're in. It gives a snapshot of the state that you're in terms of your credit capacity and whether you are desperate. To put it just simply put, it's a little bit more technical, but just put it simply. Whether you are desperate for credit, so they know whether they should give you or don't give you, because they will see what sources you have credit from and what access you have. Now, apart from that aspect of it, one of the major reasons why art inquiries are on our credit file, which is to our advantage, is to protect our right to privacy, and so that our privacy is not invaded. Because the art inquiry is there to show us who accessed our credit file. And an order inquiry falls under permissible purpose, section 604 of the FCRA. But what that does is to tell us who access our credit file. If someone access our file without our permission or our consent, then it's an invasion of our right to privacy. Now, under in terms of soft inquiries, they don't have to have for example, we don't have to be looking for credit for it to be on our file. The bureaus from time to time access our file, and that shows up. If we're looking for credit just from a shop-around perspective, sometimes we have the soft inquiries, and certain inquiries that are legitimate inquiries turn up as soft inquiries. But all of this shows us who access our file. That is what an inquiry is really there. It's one of the mechanisms that was inserted in the FCRA to protect our right to privacy. Now, there is a lot of information going around and how to delete inquiries in 24 hours and all kind of stuff. A lot of information is good. Some of it is problematic. I will do another video and show us where the problem lies and allow us to know that we should protect ourselves from going to prison. But I will touch on that another time in another video when I deal with how to delete. We create our packet here at Chironic Financial to help consumers to delete off odd inquiries legally and efficiently by maximizing our right to privacy among other right that we have in the FCRA. What do I want to talk about here? Usually we are told by the expert and everyone, this is the secret here that I will reveal. Not a secret, but it's buried, and I can't believe that no one spoke about this or is teaching on this. But we here at Chironic Financial, we set out to really delve into the law and to help consumers get to it. You can find our order inquiry packet remover at ChironicCreditProducts.com. Chironic Credit Products. You will find our order inquiry remover. Help you to remove order inquiries from your credit report. We have other products there, and we're continuing to add products that you can use for do-it-yourself credit repair. And our products are grounded within the law, right? What is the secret that no one is telling us about? Usually we hear that an order inquiry lasts 2 years on our credit report. This is what everyone teaches. That is the partial truth. And usually we are also told that we should not try to get off inquiries that are matched with an account on our credit report. But let me tell you this, we can get off those inquiries prior to 2 years without getting our accounts closed down if we know what we are doing. An order inquiry, let you hear what the FCRA says. 15 USC 1681G, disclosures to consumers. This section deals with the disclosure that credit reporting agencies have to make to us. You remember earlier I said we didn't have access to what was in our file. The FCRA makes sure that we have access to what is in our file. And as a result, they must disclose to us what is there upon our request. Inquiries is one of the things that is there. It tells us who had access to our files. Listen to what this section says. And I'm going to reveal to you here how we can get off inquiries in less than 2 years that are actually tied to legitimate open accounts and that are also not tied to any account. But we are told only to target those that are tied to an open account and that we have to lie. We don't have to, and they don't have to be there for 2 years. You're saying, what? Everyone says 2 years. I'm going to show you what the law says, and I'm going to also show you what the CFPB said. Let me show you first what the CFPB says in their report, and then I show you why they said what they say. So let us look at that very quickly. Look at what the CFPB said when it is discussing what is in a consumer report, right? It is telling us about hard inquiries. And look at what the CFPB says. That is going to shock you, that I am shocked that no one is talking about in the credit space. But I am here, Kyrony Financial is here to drop this on you where we can clean up our credit, move forward. All right, as the CFPB speaks on inquiries, listen to what they say. Inquiries, when it's discussing what is in a consumer report. A consumer's credit file is required to list every entity that accessed the file, as I said to you earlier, in the last 2 years for employment-related uses, and for at least the last year for credit uses. What? 2 years for employment, 1 year for almost every other kind of inquiry. Let me read that again. A consumer credit file is required. You will hear the CFPB call out the consumer reporting agencies on this. A consumer credit file is required to list every entity that accessed the file in the last 2 years for employment-related uses. So when it's an employment-related inquiry, it should last for 2 years on the file. That is what lasts for 2 years, but the CRAs, the consumer reporting agencies, or credit bureaus, as they're informally called, use the 2 years for every kind of inquiry when it should only be for employment-related ones. And for at least, hear what happens to every other inquiry, credit, which is the one that is more frequent on our credit reports. And for at least a year for credit uses and most non-employment uses. Example, tenant screening, insurance, government license, and benefit. Hear what the CFPB said now in calling them out. Some of the NCRA, which means National Credit Reporting Agencies, which they call the Big Three, goes beyond the legal requirements and list inquiries for 2 years. So legally, non-employment, here is the bomb. Legally, non-employment related inquiries should only be on our file for 1 year. This is how we can get off hard inquiry even when they are tied to accounts that are actually ours. We would write a letter and say to the CRA, to whom it may concern, I am writing, this account is mine. You're owning the account. And I would also send this letter to the furnisher of the data, which means the creditor, and said, this account is mine. It is mine. It is a legitimate account. However, according to the FCRA and according to the CFPB in its rulemaking in respect to the FCRA, a credit and non-employment hard inquiry should be on my file only for 1 year. And I am asking you to remove this because there's nothing in the statute that require you to have a non-employment hard inquiry beyond the 1 year. And I would send them that, and I would also send the furnisher of the data, which is a creditor. Why I would do that? Because under the FCRA, once you make a dispute with the credit bureau, they are obligated to forward the dispute to the furnisher. So I would actually send to the furnisher as well to allow the furnisher to know that I am not disputing the legitimacy of our business relationship. I am holding the FCRA accountable to delete a non-employment related hard inquiry, and I am asking you to also follow the FCRA and delete this information because it's only employment related inquiries that should last beyond 1 year. No one in the credit space is disseminating this information. No one is telling you that it's only one here, non-employment credit information inquiry should be on your file. And that is legal. You don't have to be afraid to say, oh, they're gonna shut down my account. And that's why I would say furnish the information to the creditor as well, stating that you are not disputing whether the account is yours. It's yours. You want them to follow the law in deleting the order inquiry because it's beyond 1 year of it being there. It has to be after 1 year. So you can't just get it delete instantly. Wait till a year pass and try and get it deleted. And that's how you can legally do it. Where did the CFPB get this information from? The CFPB get this information from the FCRA. Within the FCRA 15 USC 1681G, it speaks about disclosures to consumers and us having the ability to see what is in our credit file. Our credit file is every information or all the information that a consumer reporting agency has on us. Is not everything that is in our file is on our credit report. Let me say that again. It's not everything that is in our file is in our credit report. Our file consists of all the information that they have on us. But our credit report is what is under or legally in the statute of limitation. And because when you are applying, let me drop this one on you if you never noticed. They tell you that it's 7 years for most things and 10 years for bankruptcy, right? And if you have collections account that is tied to bankruptcy, that can stay for 10, can stay additional 3 years after the 7. However, if you are applying for a job that is more than $75,000, life insurance that is more than $150,000, the CRAs or the consumer reporting agencies can show things in your file that is older than 7 years. That is the only time they can show things that is older than 7 and 10 years is if you are applying for insurance that is at least 150,000, and if you're applying for a job that is over 75,000, legally they can show things that are beyond the statute of limitation. That is beside the point. I'm just dropping that gem on you. This is where the disclosures comes in. As I said, this has to do with your right to privacy, and that's where you will that's where we dispute all the inquiries in our packet. I will show you what we have in the packet and why we structure our letters. There's 10 letters in the order inquiry packet. It will be in the description of this video. If you want to order, you can go there and order it and do your dispute with the order inquiries. It deals with your right to privacy. It deals with permissible purpose. 15 USC 604. We deal with 607 where certification must be shown, and we deal with 1681G. But I'll do another video and show you what we do. I just want to show us that our inquiries that are non-employment related should only be on our file for 1 year legally. But the bureaus allow them to stay for 2. Why? Because the bureau's customer is not us. The bureau's customer are the creditors, and the creditors have an interest for the risk of lending and doing all of that to see who you have tried to get credit from. So the bureaus hold it as long as possible to help the creditors. Because remember, most employment inquiries doesn't really have that much to do after you get a job. It's really the credit inquiries that the companies are interested in. And the bureaus hold the credit-related inquiries in order to help their friends that are paying them. All right, this is where the law comes from. That the CFPB reference. And I'm going to read this. I hope you are patient with me because I am here to teach. I am here to teach, and I am here to educate us and consumers so that we are able to help ourselves, lift our families. 15 USC 1681G discloses the consumer, which is what they should show us upon request. Information on file. Remember I said earlier that our file is everything that they have. Sources, report recipients. Every consumer reporting agency shall, upon request and subject to section 1681HA of this title clearly and accurately disclosed to the consumer. And 1681 H deals with the means by which you can actually get the disclosures, which is another discussion. I will deal with that section when I'm dealing with mixed files. Those who are struggling with mixed files and are disputing through letter, and you are actually not getting where you should get the results, I'm going to show you how to dispute it where you have a more hands-on approach based upon 1681H, where you can do certain things beyond just writing them letter and they have to comply with you. But that's for when we're dealing with mixed file. And when I finish my packet on mixed file, we'll drop a video dealing with that. 1681HA of this title clearly and accurately disclosed, so they can't keep anything from you. What is in your file, which is accurately, and they can't obscure it, which is clearly disclosed to the consumer all information in the consumer's file at the time of the request, right? Which is when we request it. Let me jump now because there is some discussion here about certain aspect and the procedure that should be followed. Let me go down with the inquiries and let you hear where the CFPB was referencing. We are going to go down to 3A, right, of the 1681 G. 3A. Identification of each person, which is a person we know from the CRA is the corporations and the creditors, right? So it must identify to us who is the one that pulled our file. Identification of each person, including each end user. The end user is the person that pulled the file. Identify under 1681E, E1 of this title that procure a consumer report. This is where inquiry is being discussed. For employment purposes, during the 2-year period preceding the date on which the request is made. So once it is made today, 2 years from today, it must be pulled from our file. Or, so that is where the CFPB said earlier that for 2 years. Or for any other purpose, which is any other inquiry, during the 1-year period preceding the date on which the purpose is made. This is where I am saying all inquiries, especially credit-related inquiries, must be on our file legally for 1 year. Its employment should be there for 2 years. But the credit bureaus, because they are pandering and because the creditors are their customers and the creditors have a business interest to see what you have been up to for at least 2 years. That is why when you're going to do something, we want 2-year tax return. We want this because 2 years is a good period of stabilization and continuity. They keep everything there for 2 years. So my friend, let me wrap this up because we've been talking for a while. I could go on more, but let me wrap this up. I don't want to have you too long. We can get off all the inquiry that are there for legitimate accounts that's there. I just give us the blueprint, write a letter to the credit bureau and to the furnisher. One of the things that the credit bureaus are notoriously known for, and why I said write to the creditor, and I would send a copy of the letter to the credit bureau, to the creditor, that I'm selling to the credit bureau. Why? Because one of the issues that we have, which most people don't really notice, with the credit bureaus is that when you send your documentation to them to forward to the furnisher, they actually don't forward the documentation. That has been a big stalemate in the credit space. If you know, you know. If you don't know, where they don't forward over the info. They start to do it now, but but it's an issue. Once you send to the creditor will forward, because as part of their obligation, they will forward it to the credit bureau. And once you send to the credit bureau, they will forward it to the creditor. So you want to send to the credit bureau, send to the creditor, and copy the letter that you send to the credit bureau, to the creditor. Make sure that the creditor is aware that you are not trying to say that the account is not yours. You are saying the account is yours, but you need them to delete off the odd inquiry because it's been a year since it's there. And that's how we get to clean the odd inquiry. Legally, legitimately, without getting an open account closed. No one in the credit space is teaching this. I have never heard it, and I have been around the block. And I have never heard anyone teach this or say this before. If you have heard it, I don't know, but I've never heard it. Everyone says odd inquiry has to last for 2 years. That's how we get it clean. I will show you in another video how to use the permissive purpose section to get the order inquiries off when they are not tied to an account. Just from a procedural perspective, you don't have to lie, you don't have to trick anyone, but knowing what is to be done, what the creditor must do, and what the CRA must ensure take place, we use that. Look in the description, you find the order inquiry packet. You can adjust some of the letters. There's 10 letters in it. You can adjust some of the letters to do this, what I am telling you, because there's a letter there that is has to do with time, and it references this, and you can do the letters. There's 5 letters there for creditor, 5 letters there for the credit bureaus, and you can use them to clean your credit report. Don't look on the price. Look at what you are going to get for what the knowledge that you have there. May the peace of God be with you. May the Lord strengthen you. Kyra Unique Finance is out. It's your boy Genius. May the grace of God be with you. Let's get it. Clean your credit. Let's go.